Hey, Kevin here, Skylabs, bringing you another video. This is going to be a fun one. We've had down in the comments some people ask for maybe some of the not as popular units. You know, we've kind of covered Marantz and Pioneer and Sansui and those. I know a lot of you want to see some of the stuff that what people would consider to be a sleeper model, and I just went around the shop. I happen to have quite a few sleepers in the house right now. Eric came down. We are going to show you some of these. Yeah, we're gonna look at some pieces that are built really well, but you might not just see out and about as much as you see some of the other units. So, Eric, you ready?
Yep.
Eric's ready. Yeah, that didn't sound super. There we go.
I'm ready.
All right, we're gonna get into it. Let's go. All right, first one up, we've got a Hitachi. And Hitachi made some really good equipment. This one is unique in a way that it's actually Class G. If you're my age or older, it'd be hard to imagine that you haven't heard Class AB and Class D. If you're older, Class A, you've definitely heard that, but Class G is interesting in that, and I don't really know that much about this topology. What little digging I did do on the internet, I think Hitachi developed Class G. And there was a really good article, or a guy did a summary on Class G amplification, and specifically these Hitachis. We'll have a link to it down in the description, but it was on the Hi-Fi forum, and the username was Golden State ER. If you're more interested in Class G, definitely go check him out. And this 804 was made between 1978 and 1980. It's 50 watts per channel. And you've got some really good features here. A lot of these receivers in this watt class don't have two tape inputs, or in today's world, two auxiliary inputs. So you've got your regular aux, you've got your phono, FM, AM, and then two tapes. Your normal two speakers, everything else is just like you would imagine. There's nothing cheap feeling about this receiver. All the buttons are nice. Kind of reminds me of a little bit of Techniques. There are buttons here, some nice details in the finish. Let's plug it in, let's see what it looks like. And pretty simple. It almost looks like a realistic in a little way with that kind of green diffused or blue diffused lamps. You got watt meters. Everybody opens up their wallet for watt meters. It looks like a vinyl wrap, and it definitely is. This one is in really good shape though. I don't see any peeling. What do you think, Eric? Should we see what's on the inside?
Open her up.
Let's open it. And the only thing that looks a little bit budget would be that transformer right here. But otherwise, I mean, there's no reason this couldn't be branded Pioneer, Sansui, Marantz. It's not Macintosh quality, but this looks really good. You got your relay. Check it out. The amplifier board, it's removable. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 clips down there in the bottom, 2 screws, and this whole amp board comes out, which is nice. It makes it easy to work on. Nothing else seems to be buried. These are the same pots and toggle switches you would see from all the major manufacturers. Not the biggest fan of these. You know, it's a spring-loaded clip. Somebody's got their social security number on there. That was really common, especially for people in the military. I've heard stories where they'd say, you know, there were so many of these units in the barracks that they would scratch their social security number. And one of the worst ones I ever saw was, I got a Yamaha CA1010. They engraved it up here on the faceplate, and it was really heartbreaking. I've listened to this one on the stereo wall out there a little bit. It sounds incredible. I don't know if I could pick out that it was Class G. To me, it sounded like another, you know, really well built 70s made in Japan stereo. They all kind of sound the same to me, you know, from this era of this build quality. I don't know the Class G topology of it enough to know what I should be listening for as an improvement over a Class AB, but I would definitely own this in a second. Again, you know, besides, you know, if you need a knob or a switch or something like that, it's going to be difficult to find. I don't think there's a lot of these out there. So if you can find one in good working shape, I would definitely grab one. Mesa speakers. a lot of people, and myself included, when I first saw these, I thought for sure they were Mesa Boogie, and they're not. You know, Mesa Boogie is a really big guitar amplifier manufacturer. These were made in Chicago between 1978 and 1982. They're 4 ohms. It's a 3-way design. They say they're rated up to 50 watts per channel. They're kind of like a little bit bigger than a Minimus 7 or Realistic, but they're really stout. They look, you know, all the components seem really nice, and these sound really good. These are actually Rob's test speakers right now. That's what he's using. Eric, you really liked these, didn't you?
Yeah, I sit right next to Rob, and he brought them in last week, and he was playing them, and I was blown away that the bass that they throw out is deceiving. If you had your eyes closed, you'd imagine a lot larger speaker.
And I felt the same way. I was, the first time I heard them, I was super impressed. This is the Mini Mesa 50. Nothing super fancy, but it's an actual, that's a wood veneer. It's not vinyl wrap.
Is there any advantage to like swapping out those speaker terminals on the back to do something like,
you know, if you want
banana plugs or something?
Yeah, you could. I would just get, you know, pin style here. I'll grab one real quick. These are mini pin or mini banana, and if you have heavier gauge cable, you know, those work really well. And we've actually had other Mesa speakers. We had a guy bring in a pair of Mesa 65s a few years ago. It just needed the woofers redone. Definitely, if you see these out and about, they don't look like much. You know, they look just like, you know, kind of a cheap 80s bookshelf speaker, but they will definitely impress you. The problem is, you know, unless you're in the Midwest, probably not going to run into these very often. So, but if you do come across them, grab them. They're awesome, no question.
Yeah, they look like the kind of speakers that have the built-in speaker wire already that go with like a cheap.
Exactly. Yeah, you expect to have RCA plug on the end. Mesa speakers, Mini Mesa 50s. Try them. You like them. All right, guys, it's a JVC. You know how I feel about JVC. This is a JLB31. This is the way I bought it. This is not original. And it's pretty gaudy in this, but I kind of like it for some reason. I don't have a dust cover for it. I don't have the hinges. We're just kind of selling it kind of a as-is curiosity or, you know, unique piece because of what somebody did to these corners. And the other thing, I can't find a dust cover. I can't find the hinges. I can't find really anything. But what makes this table interesting is that tone arm. That tone arm is really nice. I've almost thought about taking the tone arm and putting it on a different table because it's a 3/4 inch mount. That tone arm will essentially fit on a lot of really nice tables, but it works and it's holding speed really well. So I'm going to sell it with the tone arm. I know that Denon started making turntables for JVC in the 80s, and this might be a Denon tone arm. I really don't know. It seems like it's got the build quality of a Denon tone arm though. It's not that a lot of these manufacturers only made bad equipment. You know, I think we get some comments where people will say, my Kenwood's amazing, or the JVC I own is amazing. And it's not that they didn't make great products. It's just when you're talking about a brand being good or not, you kind of have to look at everything they made, at least in a specific time period. Yeah, I kind of bag on JVC every once in a while, but not all JVCs are bad. Kenwood made some incredible equipment, but there's just some eras that weren't as good as some of the other brands that were putting out the same equipment at almost the same price point. That's all it is.
Those corner protectors scream late 70s to me, or mid 70s.
I kind of dig them. The guy that I bought it from said that the veneer was pulling, and he found these down at True Value and put it on there.
Oh, just recently?
Yeah, yeah, this is within, you know, a year.
It's a good hack, I guess, and it looks...
Yeah, it's nothing. I mean, it'd be really easy to re-vinyl wrap this turntable, you know, and if I had the dust cover and the hinges, I would definitely, you know, re-wrap it. But since I don't have those, and it doesn't look like I'd be able to find one anytime soon, I'm just gonna leave it like this. It's got some good weight to it too. I mean, this is a really nice turntable. Motor seems decent. All right, next we got some speakers by Graphics. Again, hard to find information on them. They're decently well made. I mean, this is all vinyl wrap, decent grill frame, speaker jacks. These were made in Illinois. Does that font remind you of anything, Eric?
Intellivision.
Oh, that's it. I just saw that. I was like, huh. Yeah, Eric's a font guy. According to the internet, these were made, late 70s, early 80s. We've had larger ones, smaller ones. In this situation, this is where you kind of get to the nightmare side of sleepers. This is the condition I got them in. And a lot of times people bring in, they want to sell everything. And they might have had a receiver or something that I was really wanting to buy. But this is where it gets to be a bummer. The other speaker is locked up. The woofer doesn't move anymore. It's seized. And these are, they have rubber surround. They don't need refoamed. But I would need another woofer to make it complete. The other problem is the tweeter has separated from the cone, and so it needs 2 new tweeters as well. So now you're in the predicament of, you really got 3 options. You can wait on eBay for 2 tweeters and a woofer to show up, which I actually did an eBay search on graphic speakers, and only 1 pair of emblems have sold in the last 6 months. That's the only thing that's sold on eBay from the manufacturer Graphics. So the likelihood of a woofer and 2 tweeters showing up is pretty slim. The other option would be to buy drop-in aftermarket speakers and hope that you get lucky. This cabinet was kind of designed around this speaker. And so you might get lucky with your drop-in off Amazon or eBay, and you might not. I don't think this tweeter's anything to write home about, but these 3 components kind of have synergy. So putting in aftermarket speakers from a different manufacturer, it's not really a graphic speaker at that point. It's more like a Frankenstein speaker. Is it really worth the time? Nobody's going to want it as a Frankenstein, or most people won't. If anything, you might be able to get the money out of the replacement drivers back out, but that's it. What we'll probably end up doing with these, honestly, is pulling the one good woofer out, setting it on a shelf, and unfortunately probably discarding the cabinets. They're not in the greatest shape anyway. There's some damage down here. That's just how it goes. So at least if we pull that one woofer out, maybe somebody out there that needs a woofer can complete their set that's in better condition. The other graphic speakers we have had in the past that were complete that we did sell, they sounded great. I think this would be right in line with like a Boston Acoustic or Baby Advent, something like that. That's Graphics, spelled Grafyx, kind of like those 4-foot devices we had in the 80s, I think. I don't remember how they spelled it, but even in mint condition, they're not a great looking speaker.
They look budget.
They look budget. Decent components. I actually opened these up. The woofer has got some beef to it, and so did the tweeter. They weren't really super cheap drivers. They were actually pretty decent. Hey, it might be Super Bowl Sunday today. Who are you rooting for, Eric?
Niners.
Niners?
Bang, bang.
It's Kansas City, right? Yeah, I hope everybody has a good Super Bowl. Not my thing. All right, next up, we have got the Toshiba. This is an SA420. This is a customer's unit. This was made between 1976 and 1977. It is 25 watts per channel and 4 ohms, so you'd have to do the math. I think it'd probably come around 18 watts per channel. And Toshiba, they made some really nice equipment. We actually had a power amp, an integrated, and a tuner come in, but it's got everything that any other receiver would have, from Pioneer, Marantz, or Sansui. You got auxiliary phono, 2 tape inputs, volume knobs feel good. Nothing feels cheap about this at all. It's got a few cosmetic issues. It is a vinyl wrap, like a lot of the Pioneers and other things from this era, but that's nothing too difficult to dress up if you want to do that. I'm going to pop it open. I'm going to take the top off. We can have a look on the inside. What do you think, Eric? Is this going to be
an empty box?
Is it going to be an empty box, or is it going to be something really cool?
I think somewhere in between.
Oh, I like it. It's a little bit of an empty box, but not bad. The nice thing about having an empty box like this they're easy to work on. You know, you've only got really 3 boards. There might be another one, maybe. You know, you got your power supply, your amplifier board. You got a tone control and preamp board up here. But as far as, servicing this, nothing seems to be out of reach. And it does look like there's been some work on it too. You see how these screws are black and then this one is unfinished? Whoever did it wasn't the cleanest installer, but not bad. We've got somebody, somebody's definitely been in here and done a repair, because it looks like maybe they were missing a capacitor, so they put 2 together. I mean, technically there's nothing wrong with that. It just kind of looks unsightly a little bit. And this capacitor has been replaced too. I would say this one has as well. So nice. It's got protection fuses on the back, which is always nice. Sometimes they put them, Pioneer's notorious for putting protection fuses under here. You know, and that's one thing to think about. You know, when we talk about some of these possibly being a nightmare, you know, if you are OCD, you want a perfect faceplate, you're going to be waiting on eBay for a long time. You know, for a faceplate to come up or a knob to come up, these aren't as common as a Pioneer, Sansui, or Marantz. And therefore, you know, they can be a really great deal if they're working and they're in great shape. And these sound really good. They sound just as good as a Pioneer or Sansui or Marantz. There's no question. They're made just as well. Let me grab a Pioneer and we'll put it side by side. Now this one's super dirty. This is a Pioneer SX680. You know, there's not really that much different here.
Yeah, that's really close.
Same amount of inputs. This is probably around the same watts. The Pioneer might have a little bit more. And it's got the VU meters, which helps with the cool factor. But as far as build quality goes, these are probably really similar in sound, and they're probably really similar in reliability. Actually, this might have a leg up on it, in that, you know, you could probably still get those transistors. The Pioneer has STK0039s. Most likely, if those go bad, you're at the mercy of eBay and possibly buying counterfeit ones. So don't overlook Toshiba. Yeah, if you can find one, grab one. Thank you for watching another video. Definitely appreciate it. Hope you got something out of it, maybe something you've never seen or heard of before. And if you've picked up a sleeper, definitely share it in the comments. You know, we haven't seen everything that's out there by a long shot. You know, we never will. There's no way. If we didn't talk about a piece that you think is really underrated, it might be just that we haven't had them come through our store here in Des Moines, Iowa. And that is why a lot of times, if we don't talk about a specific brand, we maybe just have never encountered one yet, or we haven't seen enough of them to form an opinion on them. We do get a lot of questions from people in Europe wanting to know more about brands that are more specific to that region. And I do hope somebody over in Europe makes a vintage audio channel, because it does seem like there's a need and a want for that information. It just wouldn't do anybody any justice for me to just go on the internet and try and learn about a product that I've never experienced firsthand. I really want to stick to the stuff that we know. And so that's why we cover the equipment we talk about. And our first newsletter did go out just a week ago or so. Hope everybody enjoyed that. If you'd like to get on that newsletter list, we'll have a link down in the description. It's going to be a lot of fun, should be informative, and we hope you join.